Right, everyone. So, first thing we're going to do today is we're going to look at the current rules. So first off, these are the current rules, and then we're going to look at the rules that are then coming in. Oh, excuse me. So, again, first of all, the current rules. Okay, so, here we have Bruce. Okay. Bruce wants to fly his drone. Okay. Now, if Bruce is flying in the countryside, away from towns, villages and cities, he's basically flying around, and there's the odd little house. And in this little house, there's someone who lives there. It's called Karen. Now, Bruce cannot fly within what distances of Karen's property? Does anyone know? That's correct. So it's 50 metres separation. Okay. If you're flying in the middle of nowhere, you must keep 50 metres separation from vehicles, vessels, people, cars, everything. Basically 50 metres separation. Dead easy to understand. Okay. I think we all can grasp 50 metre separation, which means Bruce's little drone is flying up here. Okay. There's Bruce's little drone. He has to keep 50 metres away. Right, dead simple. Now, the important bit is everyone thinks it's 50 metres from the surface. So everyone goes, well, as long as I'm 50 metres high, okay, I am fine. Well, that's not necessarily true. It's 50 metres from the top of the building. So if the building is 8 metres tall, you'd have to fly at 58 metres. We also have the bit where it's a bubble around the building. Okay, now, so there's a bubble around the building that you have to keep. Now, a lot of people, including myself, we will explain this around the building, but it's easy just to say, okay, it's 50 metres around your aircraft. It's easier for you to visualise, easier to deal with. Right, now, you have to keep 50 metres from the top of the building. That would be an 8 metre building. So flying at 58 metres, you could overfly. Now, there's a couple of little bits here we have to be aware of. One is Karen has a right to privacy. That's right. She has a right to enjoy her back garden and not to be disturbed by Bruce who's flying his drone. So, would you overfly 58 metres? You could do, technically, you could do. Now, Karen's sunbathing in the back garden. She's not going to be happy when she sees or hears your drone. If, however, you were flying at 80 plus metres, right, and you wanted to fly over the top, that is the better option. Okay, you would overfly at 80 metres, because there is a subtle bit of law that says Karen has a right to privacy in her own back garden and not to be basically to be able to enjoy it. And I would suggest that flying at 80 metres or up is a lot better than flying at 58 metres, where she will hear you and probably be able to see you. At 80 metres, you're just going to cruise straight over the top. Okay, and that's rural. This is typically what you can do now. Now, we have 30 metres for takeoff and landing. So if Bruce is flying, he's taking off from a footpath, and let's say that Gary comes along. Okay, so Gary's come along with his mate Ian. Right, so now we've got Gary and Ian, right? And these guys come along the footpath, and Bruce is flying, and Bruce is coming back, and these guys are having a chat. If they're under the control, because now they're going to do what Bruce says, you can land as close as required, as they're willing let. I would always suggest that if in that kind of situation, you would fly your drone to this side, and you'd land here, just tell the guys you're landing, and you would land this side. You'd never land between you and them, that's bad. Okay, so we won't do that, so you come around the other side and you'd land. Now, if Gary and Ian were not under Bruce's control and they just kept walking on, okay, as you come back, you just got to wait until they're 30 metres away, you can come in and you can land, okay? That is the very basics of flying in a rural area. You've got to keep the 50-metre bubble around people, vehicles, vessels and cars. Vehicles and vessels and cars are all the same. And if you keep your separation from all them at 50 metres, you'll be fine. Okay, that's the current rules. It's dead easy. 30 and 50 metres. 50 metres from anything not under your control, basically, be it a house, a person, a car, a boat, anything. Got it? So easy. Now, if Bruce wanted to fly into a congested area would be a city, a town, a village, it could be industrial centre, it could be a commercial block, lots of cars, okay? Can Bruce do it as a hobby flyer? Okay, and I should really put hobby up here, shouldn't I? This is what we're talking about. We're talking about hobby flying at the minute. Oh my Jesus, just a bit. Right, so hobby flying. So can Bruce come into a congested area? Right now you would need a CAA permission or PFCO. This is not the registration you do with your operator ID or flyer ID. It is an extra course that you will have to go and do. So Bruce wants to fly in a congested area. As a hobbyist, he cannot. And he has to remain horizontal separation. And this is what you're going to have to get used to coming. Right, so Bruce has to keep the separation from this area. Okay, that is 150 metres, okay, from the congested area. It's very simple. So for example, a block of houses, you may want a roof inspecting. If it's in a congested area, you probably can't do it. If you look at any city on a map or village, you look and you go, you can't get 50-metre area around you or anything, and you can't take off within 30 metres and stuff. That's probably a congested area. Does that mean you could fly in the middle of London over the Thames? No. If you imagine that you're stood on the bank here, will there be 150 metres behind you where there's no road, no houses or anything else? And not in London. I was there the other week. It was, well, 2 weeks ago, it was horrendous. The roads by the banks are just a nightmare. So many cars on them, you can't get 30 metres, let alone 50 metres. That alone, for a hobbyist, you've got to keep to the 150. Okay? So that's today's rules. It's quite simple. Okay? And this is not the airspace stuff. We'll get to airspace and that's drone assist in a bit. The DJI app and the others. This is all providing your airspace is good. Okay? And this is the important bit. Okay? Right. So, here we have now the A3 open category hobby flying. This is what is allegedly coming in December. Okay? Again, we have Bruce. Again, we have Karen and her house. Now, remember before it was a bubble. Okay? Now, how close do we think we can now fly to Karen's property? Okay, it's changed. This is no longer a bubble. All this bubble stuff, that's gone. Okay. When the new A3 Open Cat comes in, it's going to be horizontal separation. Okay. It's all about horizontal. Right. And that distance is 150 metres. I'll let you think about that for a minute. Okay, Bruce won't be flying up here, he'll be flying over here. It becomes 150 metres from uninvolved people. It doesn't matter if the person is in the house, in the car, in a train, okay, in a boat. Doesn't matter what the person is in, the rule is from anyone that's not involved in the flight, you have to remain 150 metres away. That nearby road where you had a little flying field and you should just drive into the road and step into it, if that road is within 150 metres, you have a problem. because it's 150 metres from it. Okay? You've got to be 150 metres from the car. This is what's coming. Okay? Now before, we all understood it's the bubble around the aircraft. It's now a cylinder. So it's going to be a cylinder, okay? I'm not sure if my 3D drawing is going to work or not on this. Right, it's basically, you're in a cylinder, and that cylinder is 300 metres wide. Okay? The reason why it's 300 metres wide is because it's 150 metres around your entire aircraft. So if the aircraft's in the middle, it's everything around that area, 300 metres. So it's 150 metres across plus the size of your drone. Currently, it's a 50 metre bubble around buildings, people, or if you like 150 metres around your drone. Sorry, 50 metres around your drone. And that's hobby. This is hobby flying. Okay? This is not even talking about congested areas, because they don't have to. The same built-up areas is 150 metres, because again, anyone that's inside a house, any house, it doesn't matter. If we have the public footpath scenario again, because people like them, if we had Gary and we have Ian again, and they're on the public footpath, you have to keep 150 metres away from them. They're not involved in the flight. You have to keep that separation from your aircraft. And remember, it's a cylinder. It's not about any kind of bubble anymore. The bubble's dead. It's all about horizontal separation. Okay? The important bit becomes the horizontal separation. And that's 150 metres. Okay? It's 3 times worse than what you have today. Today, you know, it's 50 metres, it's bubble around the aircraft. You could overfly Karen's house. Okay? You can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can go over the house. When the new rules come in, this is a big no. You cannot overfly uninvolved people. A road, if you want to cross a road today, you can do that. However, if there's traffic on the road in the future, you can't do that because you can't overfly uninvolved people. Okay? And this is the important bit. And this is in the A3 open category. This is hobby flying. Okay? You can't go near a congested area because there's going to be too many people. So that, again, it's 150 metres, horizontal separation. It doesn't matter if your village is 2 houses or 3 houses, it'll be irrelevant. It's 150 metres away from it. Okay? Getting my neighbour's permission, it won't matter. It's a 300 metre cylinder around your drone. Okay? That's a massive area. If you go and measure on Google Maps, you'll suddenly realise how big an area you've got to control. Okay? So that is the A3 open, and that's hobby flying. Okay?